You got a raise. Nothing changed. Picture this. HR calls you in. Good news. 10% increase, maybe 15. You walk out with a smile, open your calculator, run the numbers on what's hitting your account next month. It's more, significantly more. You're already thinking, finally I can save, finally I can breathe. 3 months later, the money's still gone, not because you're reckless, not because you lack discipline, and definitely not because you're bad with money. There's a mechanism running underneath all of this, and almost nobody explains it honestly. Today, that changes. Most people believe one simple thing about personal finance. When income goes up, financial health automatically improves. Makes sense, right? More money in, more money saved. The math is straightforward. The logic feels unbeatable. But here's the reality. Millions of people around the world experience the exact same thing. Salary increases every year, yet the end of the month still feels tight. In the US, a Lending Club survey found that roughly 60% of adults earning above the national median still live paycheck to paycheck. 60%. Not people without jobs, not people without income, people with actual careers, actual paychecks, actual raises. The pattern isn't unique to one country. Middle classes grow everywhere. Consumption grows faster. And at the end of the month, the question is always the same. Where did it all go? This isn't a math problem. It's something much deeper than that. There's a name for what's happening to you. It's called lifestyle inflation, or in more direct terms, your spending grows as fast as, or faster than, your income. But wait, this isn't about suddenly becoming a reckless spender. The mechanism is far more subtle than that. Think of your brain like an operating system that constantly recalibrates what normal looks like. When you were a student, cooking instant noodles at midnight was normal. Fine, no big deal. But the moment your first real paycheck hit, that standard quietly shifted. Eating out occasionally stopped being a luxury. It became the baseline, the minimum expectation. Behavioral economists call this hedonic adaptation. The human brain has a remarkable ability to adjust to new conditions, upward and downward. When something good happens, your brain absorbs it as the new standard almost immediately. The raise that felt like a major win. In 3 months, it's just Tuesday, and the brain starts looking for the next level. This isn't a character flaw. This is how the human brain has operated for hundreds of thousands of years, constantly pushing for more. In prehistoric times, that mechanism kept people alive. In the age of bank accounts and monthly installments, it quietly dismantles your finances without you ever noticing. But there's a second layer, and it's more dangerous. Every time your salary increases, there are parties who find out faster than you do. Not your family, not your friends, but the system. Banks, e-commerce platforms, the lifestyle industry that has spent years learning one thing. Someone who just got a raise is a perfect target. Your credit card limit quietly goes up. Installment offers labeled easy monthly payments start appearing. Your shopping feed starts showing products in price ranges you've never seen before. None of this is coincidence. This is a system engineered with surgical precision to ensure that every time your financial capacity grows, something is already there to absorb it. There's something even more subtle we need to talk about, and this is the part that almost never gets mentioned. Social pressure works like gravity. You don't feel it every second, but it's always there, pulling. When your income rises, the expectations of people around you rise too, often without them realizing it. Friends start suggesting more expensive places because you're working now. Family starts carrying new expectations because you're earning more. And you, as a social creature who wants to belong and doesn't want to seem cheap, start adjusting. This is what I call the invisible tax, the unseen cost of a rising social status. And there's one more mechanism, arguably the cruelest one. Salary increases often arrive alongside increased responsibility, new position, heavier workload, more stress, and a tired brain is the worst possible brain for making financial decisions. When you're exhausted, you don't buy what you need, you buy what makes you feel better. You order food delivery not because you can't cook, but because you have zero mental energy left to think about it. You buy a new gadget not because the old one broke, but because a depleted brain is desperately hunting for a fast dopamine hit. Research from Columbia University found that mental exhaustion directly degrades financial decision-making. A depleted brain defaults to instant gratification, not because of weak character, but because biologically, that's the default response when the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for long-term thinking, has run out of fuel. So here's what the actual cycle looks like. Salary goes up, responsibility goes up, stress goes up, financial decisions get worse, money still disappears. And because your lifestyle has already adjusted upward, the whole thing feels completely reasonable. This is what's called a golden cage. You feel free because the number is bigger, but you're more trapped than you were before. Locked into payments, into a lifestyle, into expectations. So what actually happens if you never catch on to this? First, a false sense of security. The number on your payslip is bigger. So you feel fine, but your savings aren't moving. Your emergency fund doesn't exist. And when something unexpected hits, illness, layoff, a family crisis, you find yourself in exactly the same position as when you were earning half as much. Because the money was never actually saved. It was gone before it had the chance. Second, the debt spiral. When spending always tracks income, there's no buffer. And when there's no buffer, one unexpected event pushes you straight into debt. And debt has a price. Credit card interest rates in the US can sit between 20 and 30% annually. A single small transaction you couldn't cover becomes a debt that compounds far beyond its original value. But the biggest impact, the one that almost nobody talks about, is opportunity cost. Every dollar absorbed by lifestyle inflation is a dollar that never works for you. Money that gets invested works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even while you're asleep. Money that disappears into payments and lifestyle spending, gone. It doesn't come back. Run this number. If from every raise you manage to save and invest just $200 a month starting at age 25, with an average return of 8% per year, by age 55, you'd have over $270,000. Not because you're wealthy, not because you got lucky, but because you didn't let lifestyle inflation absorb every single increase. $200 a month. That's 4 lunches out per week. That's a streaming subscription you don't actually watch. That's what disappears every month without you noticing. So, what do you actually do? I'm not going to hand you a long list, because honestly, the solution isn't complicated. The hard part is consistency. But without understanding the mechanism, consistency is impossible. 1. Apply what's called pay yourself first, but the aggressive version. Every time your salary increases, decide on the same day what percentage of that increase goes directly into savings or investments before you have time to get used to the new lifestyle, not the leftovers, not whatever's left at the end of the month. First, automatic. Before your brain has a chance to redefine what normal costs, aim for at least 50% of every raise going toward your future. The other 50% is yours to enjoy. This isn't about denying yourself a life. It's about making sure your future self also gets one. 2. Identify your spending triggers. When are you most likely to spend impulsively? After a brutal workday? After a draining meeting? When you're scrolling at 11 p.m. and your brain is half asleep? Find the pattern. Because impulsive spending almost always follows a pattern. And once you know the pattern, you can interrupt it before the decision gets made. 3. Audit your invisible commitments every 3 months. How many subscriptions are you paying for that you barely use? How many installments do you have that you've already forgotten why you took? How many social expenses are you covering, not because you want to, but because you feel like you have to? These numbers are almost always bigger than you think. A bigger salary doesn't automatically make your life better. What makes your life better is the gap between what you earn and what you spend, and what you actually do with that gap. The system is designed to keep that gap as close to zero as possible. Your brain is designed to accept that as normal. But now you know how it works, and that's already enough to change everything. If this was useful, you know what to do. See you next time.